All right, folks, this is radio.ning.com. Welcome to the show. This is the Here and Now show with your host, Will of the McStiffine family. Now, I have three guests with me today in this, from different parts of the world, excuse me. One is in Cyprus. His name is, he wishes to be called Tel, and another gentleman wishes to be called, he prefers to be called Batman, and another gentleman wishes to be called Boris. So welcome to tnsradio.ning.com. Folks, welcome. This is the first time you've been on this radio station, I believe. So you have solutions, and Batman is the man that has sort of constructed this solution of, what shall we call it, the four stones, or we have talking about a mistake. If people are worried in Ireland and England and abroad, the United States, everywhere, about all these bills, these fictitious bills that are coming in, because everything that's provided in the world for us today, folks, is free, because we have dominion over the earth. We are created by God. In the Bible, He gives us dominion. Everything is provided for us for free in all reality, and the state has intervened with a straw man that they created in all capital letters on your birth certificate, and the straw man is really you're considered legally as a debt slave since your birth, folks. So that's where all the problem lies, and there are solutions, and it's just all this trick of the mind with the legal name, your name, so to speak, in quotes, as if you own anything. It's just a name that you're using, so people are entitled to call themselves by any name they wish. And so we have Batman has this, it's called the four corner statements of fact. Would you like to tell us something about what work you've done on this solution that you bringing forward to the world? Delighted to welcome here, Batman.
Yeah, thank you. Well, anyway, it's nothing that I came up with. It's always been in our faces. It comes down to, really, the first question I ask people, or try to, is, do you understand who the problem is? See? And a lot of people hate to admit it, but I found I'm the problem. And once I realized that, then I found a different path to follow. And actually, I can't really claim any of this as being my original concept or anything. Anyway, I'm told there's nothing new under the sun anyway. All it really comes down to is realizing what the name is there for, and how to use it, and stay in honor, and forgiveness and love for one another. Generally, that's the basis for it. As far as learning how to deal with the officials there properly, so they can settle the matter and get out of their way. What it basically comes down to is, like just the courtroom situation, for instance, is there's a controversy, assumed controversy. The courts, in my opinion, are assuming you've laid claim on the name. Therefore, when you go into that court and they call out a name and you say, yeah, I'm here, or that's my name, you just gave the court jurisdiction by claiming a controversy and bringing it before them. Now you gave them jurisdiction to settle the matter. Whereas I would go in there, seeing as I had a paper or notice, appears there may be a controversy here that they think concerns me, and all I go in there is a friend of the court and try to point out that there's a mistake, and I want to deal with it honorably. In other words, get out of their way so they know there's no claim by me on the name. Therefore, the name's the government's responsibility to zero the account. I mean, really, it's that simple. I don't know where you want to go from there.
The name that we understand it is that there is somebody that has the liability because there's an ownership surrounding the name as property. That's correct, isn't it?
In a sense, I think it's more for the government to keep track of matters for the government. I look at the government like the left hand of God, or the old schoolmaster. And the main reason for the name is to help decide whether you're a claimant in dishonor, living of the world, claiming ownership, or you're on the other side, not being of the world, but in the world, whereas you realize everything is here for everyone to use and give all and take what you need.
There's actually, I believe, a civil law called usufruct, which surrounds the use of a thing or property. Is that right?
I believe so. Boris is more up on that than I am.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. That all the courts are administrating the condition called usufruct because they've so-called seized all the fruits of everybody's labors and all the titles and all the values associated with it. And since they're experiencing the benefit through appropriations, then they have to service the condition as a result. Just like we're usufruct of the earth, so we must take care of the earth for future generations, and we can't change the nature of the earth. So much they take care of all the things they get, or the of the world gets from those in the world. And it creates that condition where they have to service the needs and the needs and desires or all those things that make those people in the world be able to function, so they can do whatever they're here to do, and then all the value they generate by their acts and deeds by helping out everybody else flows into that public, and then they have a duty to reciprocate. And that's all the courts are, they're just administrating that part of it. And all you got to do is stay out of the way, and they'll do their job.
Yeah, mainly it's, give all and take what you need, or you can claim ownership and you get the bill.
Yep. You have your masters. You have the earthly master and the iron rod, or the open hand of love. Which one do you want?
And I think you have a different view to a popular view, Boris, on the 1933 or 1931 as it was in the UK, the removal of gold and the bankruptcy, which people tend to follow as being why everything is prepaid. That's a sort of popular stance, if you like.
Man, the only thing I believe the only thing that 1933 did in America and England and all this other stuff was just change the form of the currency. That's all it did. It because you don't have enough gold to go around to take care of business. And it's cumbersome, it's ineffective. All they did was go to a simple accounting-based system where they just put notes and stuff into a ledger. That's all they really done.
Right. It was another, in my opinion, another way of reiterating the cross. Which side of the cross do you want to be on? Do you accept the forgiveness, or do you want the debt side? You want to be unforgiving? See, in my opinion, if everybody realized they didn't own anything and we're just using it, national debt and world debt would disappear because of the unforgiveness and the claim on one another's brother. Now that's why we're in the debt situation, or they are anyway, in the debt situation they're in.
Right. And it is you got the two systems running side by side. You got capitalism and socialism. They're kin. They're kin. They have to operate side by side. You have the people who want to live that life of giving everything, and then you have the people who want to live the life of ownership. And they'll balance each other out regardless of how many people are on each side, as long as there are people on each side. And then if you have everybody going towards ownership, you'll speed down the road to fascism, and then speed down the road to communism, and communism is just forcing everybody to give it up, and fascism is forcing everybody to buy it back. So when you get them all in equal opportunities, you get a symbiotic nature that just balances itself out.
Okay, Boris, in relation to the usufruct, I think you put a point forward about there being a military type of government, or military rule, if you like.
Yeah, there is a it's basically all your governments are in war. They're at war fighting terrorists now. It's a worldwide war. Every country on earth is engaged in it. And when they're all they're really doing is they're saying who's with us and who's against us. Who's going to be the capitalists, and those guys are going to get the chips and all the other crap that goes along with it, and who's those who are just freely giving of themselves. And they've codified it under the Lieber Code, Part 31 and 38, and then it's also in international law in the Hague Convention 1907, Article 53 and 55. And basically it is. They're just administrating the usufruct. They're the military rule. They've come in here and said, okay, they're the right hand. They're, you know, like Batman said, they're the left hand of God, and they're gonna help us whether we like it or whether we kill it, whether it kills us. And if you just read those two entries on each one of those, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's also in the New Testament where the little old lady, she gave it all, and the rich man only gave like 10%. Now the 10% might have been more than the old lady gave altogether, but the point was she gave all. Now she can enter the kingdom,
Yep.
heaven on earth, or you can claim ownership and stay.
And you'll still have heaven on earth.
Well, except the liability. Most people who claim ownership are more worried about what it owns them more than it. You know, they're more worried about getting it stolen from them. Why? When you can put it in a place where nobody can take it from you. It's always there for you to use.
Yeah. It all comes down to ego death. You got that ego of yours has got to die. That the Armageddon is going to happen between your ears. All that junk and all that crap you all hold as truth is going to be burned away, and the only thing left to decide is the degree of the burn.
It'll come down to balancing. You'll no longer be at war with yourself.
There is a lot of people carrying a lot of anger, especially people that are waking up. I mean, I look at it in this way, that when you wake up, you've then got to grow up, because when you wake up, I think there's an initial anger in people that when they see things and realise what's probably what they think then is going on. And looking at all the freelance sites and the way that people have been looking at things, a lot of people are carrying anger and conflict inside them, angry at what's been happening. But I think there's a different view going on here, that we should be at peace in our heart and love in our heart, because whatever we feel within, we can manifest without.
Right. Mainly, the way I see it is there's not much you can do about what other people's actions are, but once you realize that, hey, the problem is me, and that's something I can do about, that I have choices on how I deal with others. There now I got something I can work with. But till then, if you're blaming everybody else for your position, what can you really do but get frustrated and angry?
Absolutely. And it would be fair to say that if you think you are an owner of any property and put yourself forward and claim the name or any property, then you could be regarded as a combatant.
Exactly. An occupant. A resident.
An occupant. And you'll be dealt with accordingly. I mean, the Liber Code is quite clear what they will do with combatants.
Yeah, but look at what it does with peaceful inhabitants. See? It's like, they tell us in the movies and stuff. I like to refer to the old Star Trek series. Prime Directive, I believe, #1 is don't mess around with the peaceful inhabitants. The inhabitants of the planet. It's their government's job to protect them. As long as you're in honor, they will do it. It's their nature. You don't even have to ask. They'll know you by your fruits.
Yep.
There's a lot of people who will probably say they have an argument of sovereign. They go into court and they put a judge on his oath and they do various things and strategies they're using in court. But I think your view, Batman, is that that's purely smoke and mirrors and we shouldn't even be concerning ourselves with that type of thing.
Right. I believe the only thing the judge is looking for is if you laid a claim, who's making the accusations here? If you notice, if you want to go and just take a court for a civil matter, if you're laying a claim against somebody, never mind the government, just your brother or your neighbor or whatever, don't you have to put up surety? Don't you have to put up bond or bail for the case because you're bringing a claim? And if you think about it, when the state has a charge, all they're looking for, as far as they know, is somebody's got a claim on that, so we need to settle the matter. And if you go in there and say, yeah, that's my name, which the birth certificate, I believe, is created for the state to control and balance the books if used properly. But if you claim that name, now they got a controversy. They can't settle the matter. In other words, zero the account, give forgiveness, because somebody's not forgiving. Somebody's claiming the name. So you give them jurisdiction. I mean, I believe it's really that simple.
So just as simple as not even not claiming the name. So the name that appears on the birth certificate, which is either pre or at the time or post registration, the birth certificate is essentially not your property, and the name upon it is not your property either. Is that correct?
Right. It's the cross. We can use it. What side of it you want to be on? You see, it's there. It's there for the government to, help. It's just a tool for the government to help separate the wheat from the chaff. If you study the Bible at all, please don't mistake me for a Christian, but if you study the Bible at all, you'll find that it's set up that way. It's, you got a choice. It's up to you, which, how you want to deal with it. You want to be in forgiveness and love, or you want to lay claim. In other words, be a debt collector. Why do you think them attorneys don't answer a lot of the paperwork? They look at you like a debt collector. Look up the laws and rules and regulations for debt collectors. I think you'll find they keep them on a very short leash.
Well, a lot of people do commercial liens and notices and different strategies that they've been learning about using the freeman route, if you like, and the sovereignty route. But I think what we're saying there, Batman, is that all that's happening is you're causing controversy and making claims.
Right, because I truly believe when you got your ego in order with your heart, I believe you'll find, just like most millionaires and billionaires in the country, in the world I should say, I think you'll find the majority of them do not claim ownership. They just control it. They just use it. And I think when your heart's right, you'll find yourself on the other side of the fence, not in controversy. And you'll have, access to whatever you need.
So just being able to... Sorry, Boris.
It just all boils down to getting in touch with that little inner voice, I call it the inner alien, that little whisper that's inside you that everybody tends to ignore. And because all the other voices from your ego and your intellect and all that other shit just rages in everybody's head, and it drowns out that little whisper. So if you can get in touch with that little whisper, you'll never go wrong. It'll lead you down the right path each and every single time, and that's the purpose. That's why people meditate. They meditate so they can get rid of all the other voices to concentrate on that whisper, because that's where it's all coming from. It all comes from within. None of what we do is searching for answers without. Man, we take it all within, and you have to internalize it. You put it in there. You get it out of your head. You get it from your head to your heart. And you clear out all the rubbish and all the other junk that's in your head, and and it's an awesome freedom once you get this down and once you understand it. And you don't have to get it perfect; you just have to get it. You just have to get it.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, and it's in each one of us. We all have it written. The law or the rules or laws, however you want to put it, are written on every man's heart. Whose fault is it if you're not paying attention?
It's true. The information is all out there. It's all about choices, isn't that right?
Yeah. It's all about choice.
A lot of people think that they are.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Boris. A lot of people think they are slaves in sort of involuntary servitude.
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of what master do you serve? Do you serve the Heavenly Father, or do you serve the earthly master? You're going to serve one or the other. It's either or. You're either going to serve the earthly master, and if you're going to serve that earthly master, man, who rules this world? Who rules of the world? He has an iron fist and an iron rod, man. He'll be more than happy to use it on you. Beat you in the line. Or you can forego all the childish ways you've been engaged in and take your rightful place at the side of your Creator. But you'll still serve him. But in doing so, you'll free yourself. It's freedom through servitude, either one way or the other.
Yes.
And the only thing you really have the only thing you have a choice over is which one do you want to serve.
Yep. Forgiveness and love, or the other side, credit and debt and
struggle and misery and strife and everything for the rest of your life. I mean, which one do you want? But I mean, once you go down whatever path you take, it's the path you're going to be on. You can't really go in and out of it. you can wind your way through it, but it won't. You won't get nowhere. You'll always be stuck on the fence. And even those in the battle of heaven and hell, those stuck on the fence, guess where they ended up? They still ended up in hell.
I'll spew you out.
Yeah.
Better you were hot or cold.
Yeah, and the way I just say is, man, is you're not prepared to surrender everything in that name. I mean everything you can think of that name is attached to. I mean, you may even have to give up personal relations with people because they may not, they may drag you down, try to drag you down, because they don't want to change. I mean, it's not like, the getting it is easy, doing it is hard.
Well, what if I have a mortgage in my? What if I have a mortgage in the name, the legal name which I've been using? What if I have a mortgage in that, Boris? What would I have to give that up?
Why not just go down to the lender and ask them, hey man, there must be a mistake here. Who's liable for that name?
Something to that effect. I suggest people, though they don't go diving right into this.
Yeah.
They if they can, listen to some of the calls, especially number 10 on the Batman 57 talk show, because it could wind up you going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, because they will start asking about your mental health. You will go down mental health road. Because they need to know who you are. You've got no repertoire with these people. All of a sudden you go in and say this, man, they're going to think you're insane.
Oh yeah, maybe.
They got to make sure that you're not trying to hoodwink them and pull some wool over their eyes. They got to make sure your heart's right. And they're going to test you, and you will be persecuted. So take what we tell you, and then go listen to those talk shows, and make sure you listen to number 10, because that one right there is a good one. It'll tell you what happens when things go, when you start mixing the two worlds.
Yeah, you go into dishonor, and if your heart's not right. I mean, I believe if my friend on their heart was right, he would have never went to jail, or to the
house.
Yeah, I've only been there. The thing of it is, he let his ego get in the way. He was going to show them. And then when it came down to if his heart was right, I think he wouldn't have had any problem. But he turned around and he meddled. And, well, you have a chance to listen to it. You'll see what I mean.
It all boils down to once you get it to the point where you put your testimony into that record. Once nobody rebuts it, man, it's over. There's nothing left for you to discuss. There's nothing left for you. Let them settle the matter.
Right.
Get out of the way.
Right. They might start arguing about the name and pointing at you and this and that. Unless they call you by what you said to be called. Yep. They're not talking to you. They're just looking to see if you're going to meddle and step into it. It's a test. They get all kinds of strange and act weird, and it can be an intimidating situation. But if your heart's right, and you're not liable for the name, and they're arguing about it,
yep.
It doesn't have to do with you. You pointed out that the controversy. You didn't lay claim to the name. Now they have first-hand knowledge. They can zero the account.
There's been three men in court saying, I am not that person. But that's not what you're saying, is it, Batman?
Right. I would not go in there and make any statements in that matter. I'd mainly point out that where's the evidence that I have a claim on the name or something to that effect.
I would also not try to avoid using those negatives, because when you go in there and you say, I am not that name, what the subconscious mind actually hears is, I am that name. Subconscious doesn't process negatives. It just doesn't have a frame of reference to do so. It's the innocence factor of your, it's the innocence factor. It's your heart. Your heart can't lie. Never will. I think there was I saw this on one of these things about not Gandhi, but Dalai Lama on this one of these Skype things. And I was asked, why didn't you fight against the Chinese? And he looked down and he goes, war is obsolete. And of course the mind can rationalize fighting back, but the heart would never understand. And then you'd be constantly dividing yourself. That's what post-traumatic stress disorder is all about. The man's heart and his mind are fighting with each other. Man is not designed to go to war. Never was. He's not designed to fight. His mind and his heart just can't do it. They can't reconcile the fact of him going out and killing his fellow brother. It doesn't work. It causes insanity, and that's what post-traumatic stress disorder is. And as long as they keep on treating it another way and don't treat that way, then you'll never so-called cure it. But the only cure is just don't participate. The only winning move is not to play the game. So don't participate in it.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
And they give you the game.
They give you the doors. You can either deal with it or not deal with it. And the only winning move is not play. That's the one they don't tell you. That's the third door. That's the invisible door. That's the one that everybody has the key to. So you just basically go in there and say, how am I liable for that name? I used the how are you using his name as personal identification route when we first did it, and some things started happening. I didn't use any paperwork. I gave up the paperwork. Those are just false wooden idols.
I think I just wanted to add, I think we have it even a little simpler now. I heard the other day the word open. When they call out the name, just say open. And I believe if it's what I hear, I believe what would happen is you'll go before the prosecuting attorney before you go before the judge. And just point out him, give the attorney the facts and see if he still wants to bring this matter into the public.
Yeah.
Once he realizes you don't claim, you haven't claimed the name, now does he really want to go there with you? See?
Yeah. And and it's not really the name you're claiming. It's an account. It's an administrative account. That's all it really is. It was created at your birth for you to use. It's an indemnification receipt. It's a receipt for indemnification.
Yep.
And it's how they're going to reconcile the accounts. And you can either go in there and claim to be that name, and then you can be married to it, and then you become part of the dowry, or you divorce yourself from it.
You get the bill.
And the presumption is they don't know who anybody is, so they think. So the presumption is that everybody is an enemy until you come and show the fruits that you're not. And you really can't go in there and go say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that, because the system won't process that because it's running from its heart.
It's like there's a perfect example of how to deal with it right in the Bible. When Pontius Pilate, Christ went before Pontius Pilate. You notice Pontius Pilate called Christ, and then he went on and he asked him, are you king of the Jews? Think of king of the Jews as the name, the account. Are you owner of this account? And he says, what evidence do you have of that, more or less? Did you think of this on your own, or did somebody tell you this? And after that, Pontius Pilate went out and said, I find no fault with this man.
Yeah.
He settled the matter, zeroed the account. He could, because there was no claim on the name. So it's his job to allow it to be settled. He's just giving you what you want. If you want to claim ownership, he's going to give you the bills. He don't have a problem with that.
And how are you going to settle? How are you even competent to settle anything when you don't own anything? You have no way to settle it. There's no way in how you can settle any bill whatsoever. You don't have no means. They own it all. They've already claimed ownership. Let them own it. The Pope claims ownership. Give him the bill. It's his job to pay it. That's what the owner does. All damages and damages liabilities fall to the owner. So when you have a court case, and what do? They claim damages. Well, they claim liabilities. Let them claim it. Stop going in there. Stop going in there and filling out your damn secured party thing and all this other stuff, because all you're really doing is going, hey, I want to jump your place in line so I can settle those debts. That's what a lien position is, guys. That's all it is. It's the first position to settle debts so you can maintain the position. And they've already got that first position. Why do you want to jump them? Because then they're just going to dump it all on your shoulders, and then your burden is no longer light because you chose to do something else. It's the actions of the people that create the problems of today. And I have I call it the faulty presumptions on the part of the people trump any lie laid in support of the illusion the people just created for themselves. So anything that you claim to be a lie is trumped because of the faulty presumptions you're operating under. And that's why I call it the Armageddon. All that shit's going to burn off. It's going to go. The light of truth is going to enter into your head, and either you're prepared for it or you're not, and all that's left to decide is the degree of the burn. And sadly, a lot of people aren't going to survive it. They'll be stuck forever. They'll be stuck in that world where they'll have to struggle and maintain their existence. They'll be chipped and implanted and they'll be experimented on. They'll do everything to those people because that's what they chose.
And the people do it by their own consent.
That's right. And you can see it everywhere. I mean, in Arizona over here, they're getting ready to explode. You can see it in Greece. You can see it in Malaysia. You can see it down there in Africa. They've been doing it for years. They've just been exploding over each other for years. You're going to start seeing it everywhere. It's going to start creeping up. It's going to start doing, and then suddenly it's just going to explode. And most people on this planet aren't ready for it. They're not ready to deal with this, but they're going to have to go through it. And that's why me and Batman are out here. We're trying to help people, trying to give them a little heads up, going, hey man, all you got to do is get rid of the ego, surrender it back to God. Adam partook of the tree of knowledge, then lied to God, created an outside influence.
Claimed ownership.
Yeah, he claimed ownership of it. He argued with God and created an outside influence called Satan. And God said, okay, be gone with you and don't let me get in the way of your happiness and success. But if you ever want to return, just surrender that which you took. Just surrender the ego. Surrender the ego. Surrender the intellect. Surrender the emotion. Live with your heart. When you live with your heart, man, you'll feel it. It'll be like a beam. It'll be a burning sensation in your chest. I mean, I can't describe it. It just fills you up and it just radiates from without. And once it starts radiating without, it'll touch other people, and then they'll start radiating it. Because it's just like that pebble in the pond. You throw a pebble in the pond, what happens? You get water currents coming out. What happens when you throw another pebble in the pond? You get more currents coming out. When they meet, you have chaos until everything smoothens out. But eventually, all the pebbles in the pond will create those waves that'll affect all other parts of the pond. And that's when you start doing it, and that's when it starts happening, and that's when change really occurs. All this other stuff, man, all this other crap, people going into court and fighting and doing all this, man, it ain't doing nothing. It's doing nothing but pissing them judges off.
And filling the jails.
Yeah, and filling the jails, and they're pretty soon they're going to start filling the concentration camps they got built. I don't know if they have any in any other country, but they got like 80 of them here. They're just empty and ready to go.
Just a bigger playpen.
Yep.
Like I say, when I'm in that courtroom, it's like I'm in kindergarten. I state the evidence the way I see it, and then after that, it's kindergarten time for me. I'm there asking questions.
Yeah. And I'm not there to educate these people. Why would you educate them, man? They've already went to law school. They've already got their little meetings. They already get little seminars. They already get all they need to know. And if they don't need to know, someone is watching them. That's what the little eye in the pyramid is. It's someone watching them. It's not watching you. It's watching them. It's watching all the kids. When you cease to be a kid and grow up, the eye doesn't watch you anymore because it doesn't need to. Because it knows that it has trust and faith in you that you will do the right thing. That you will be, you'll help. You won't be a burden onto humanity. You'll be a light. That's what the 1,000 points of lights are. It's 1,000 points of light in the middle of the darkness, and you got to be one of them. That's all it is. You just have to be the light. And in order to be the light, man, you have to get rid of all the junk.
Well, if you want peace in your heart, well, you got. I believe everybody has the peace in their heart. It's all written there. The point of it is, if we allow the ego, the emotions, and our intellect control our decisions, it only seems to get worse and worse for people because they're always thinking to blame somebody else or creating an enemy or something to keep it in controversy, so you're not paying attention to your heart. I can't really explain why it works that way, but that's what I found in my life. When I started listening to that little voice in my heart saying, hey, why am I doing all this paperwork and my burden's light, and different scriptures popping up in my head. And then one day I just did it. No paperwork this time. Went in there and did it. All charges went to the prosecuting attorney. Wow. So simple.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to ask. They just settled the matter. And I believe it worked for anyone. I don't see why it wouldn't. But that's just my first-hand knowledge of what happens when you get out of the way of the government. The government's there, and they expect you to trust them. But if you go in there and claim that name, that's more or less slapping them in the face. I don't trust you. I can handle this myself.
Yep.
Okay? Go for it. You know?
It's all a matter of trust.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you look at the Declaration of Independence, what they do, they surrendered their what is it? Now I can't even remember what it is.
Everything, pretty much.
Yeah. Their honor, their sacred honor, their lives, and their fortunes. They surrendered it all. Every single one of the founding fathers, or whatever you want to call them, surrendered everything. That's the only line in that whole document that means anything.
Yeah.
Because once you surrender it all, they have no. You have to. They have to take care of it. It's their duty, and they do abide by their duties. They are very honorable people, and it's the people, the inhabitants, the people who want to claim ownership, that are the ones in dishonor. People running the system are in honor. They'll do everything they can to protect you once you establish, once you've made it clear through your fruits who you are. And you're not going to convince them other than that. You can't go in there with a piece of paper and they ain't going to listen to that, man. That's like bringing a false god to God and going, here, man, this piece of paper says you're wrong.
Yeah. Wooden idols.
You're really going to go before God and tell him, hey, man, you're stupid. You're wrong. I'm right. I mean, that's all they've done. They've just taken heaven on earth. They've just taken heaven and built it on earth. And then they're operating the system. That's all they've done. And whatever you hold true on earth, I will hold true in heaven. You hold true on earth that you have an iron rod, then that shall be your heaven. If you hold true on earth that you want to love and help each other and live in harmony with each other, I will hold that true in heaven. And it will be his way on earth. And that's what they've done. They've literally built that system around that premise. And, everybody wants to come in and claim ownership, man. They want to be spoiled little kids. So, what happens to spoiled little kids when they get out of line? They get spanked. They get chided. They get I see it there. I see it all the time in the stores. Mommy, I want this toy. Mom. What happens, man? The kid starts getting yelled at by his parents. I mean, I don't agree with the parenting, but it's just the way it works. Because eventually, you just get sick of hearing it. Me, and it's like, okay, well, what about the rest? Well, screw the rest. It's just me. I want this. I need this. I. Okay. Have it your way. There's really not much to it, but if you want to, you can go ahead and read the Lieber Code, that part 3138, the Hague Convention, 1907, Article 55 and 53, and there's a couple random. There's a book out there called A Way to Outdo England Without Fighting Her, and that's basically it. That's all you really need, and then just get it all straight in your heart and get your heart right and learn to forgive. Because that's what it's all about. That's the only claim you can ever make upon which relief can be granted, is forgiveness. Because whoever's coming in with a claim isn't in forgiveness. They're trying to collect a debt, and all debts have been paid. It's the New Testament. It's the first thing that happened in the New Testament. Christ was a sacrifice. Christ died for your sins. All debts have been paid. And that's what that birth certificate is. It's your Christ. Accept them. Accept the Christ, and you shall be saved.
What about using the name, Boris? There's people.
You should be able to use the name because that's what its purpose is. It's to keep it. The reason they've done it is to keep everything within that realm, to keep everything within that trust. So they can keep all the titles in abeyance and then keep everything appropriated within. You're supposed to just use the name to go out and acquire whatever you need, then it goes back. But when you claim ownership, then you prevent it from going back to the source. And what happens when something can't go back to the source? It incurs a debt. It incurs interest. You incur the interest. And then you in turn harm your brother because now everybody has to pay for it so you can claim ownership.
Well, yeah, it's unforgiveness. You get
Yeah.
the bill. It's like the driver's license, for instance. People know it doesn't belong to them because the state can revoke it at any time. But when the officer asks them, "Is this your driver's license?" What do they say? "Yeah, it's my driver's license." Well, now there's the controversy right there. See?
Yep.
If you said, "Oh, well, this is what I used. Is this what you're looking for?" I think that officer's got to sit back and think about what you just said. You see? It's really, I believe that's simple.
Yeah, I mean, once you get it in your head, and pound it in through those thick skulls. I know I had a pretty thick skull there for a while, man. But when I met Batman, everything just made sense. It all started clicking. Everything that the last 12 years of studying all that other junk, all that stuff didn't even matter anymore. When I started talking to Batman, it all made sense. Everything we did made sense. It's just it all has to just hit you, and it'll hit you once you wrap your brain around it and start understanding that you're the problem because of the way you think. And it's not an indication, and it's not a ragging on people. It's just you're the problem because of the way you think, the way you were brought up to think, the way you. A lot of people never question anything they do when they go through life. They just do it. They just do it because someone else told them. When you start questioning it, then you start thinking, and once you start thinking, things change. And it's not really it's your fault because you didn't think, because you didn't question it, because you didn't feel something was wrong, or you were fearing them. And fear is a sin. You shouldn't fear your fellow man. You should love him. If you fear your fellow man because of a quote position he has, then something's wrong with you because you're in sin. And that's your guilt. And when you go in that courtroom, they see that guilt. It's self-evident in your actions, in your attitudes, in the way you act, and everything else. They don't have to do it. They don't even have to ask you. They know when you're feeling guilty. They can see it. They know the tells. It's always there. The same tells in every person is always there when they feel guilty.
Yeah, I think the hardest part people have, I know I do myself, is forgiving myself. And because if you can't forgive yourself, how can you forgive others?
That's right.
But I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's always a work in progress.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's what you're here for. Because you gotta advance beyond all that fear and anxiety and all that other stuff. Because that's that lower fourth dimension that everybody keeps talking about. That's where all that stuff resides. Once you get into the fifth, once you get above that and get into the love, you can't go backwards. Because that love, once you tap into it, it'll conquer everything. It will literally absorb all that stuff, all that fear and all this anxiety and all this shit that's going on in this world. Once your heart changes and all the people's heart, all that stuff takes care of itself. You just have to take care of you. And then if you want to, help other people take care of them. But you can't do it for them. They still have to take the test. You can only help them study for it. That's what we do. We help you all study for these tests. But you're going to have to go through it. It's going to be in your heart because you're the one who's going to be judged. And it's not going to be by your brothers and your sisters. It's going to be you. You're going to be judging yourself.
Yeah, Mr. Gold.
Yeah. It doesn't miss anything, man. You don't miss anything that goes on in your life. Whether you know it or not. You miss nothing. You see it all. You experience it all. You live it all.
It's in the conscious and in the subconscious.
That's right. In the subconscious. If the subconscious can't reconcile with the conscious, you've got a conflict. You've got something. You've got something inside of you that needs to be resolved, and only you know what it is. Because that subconscious is innocence. It's your heart. It's that little voice. I call it, like I said, I call it the inner alien because many people are alienated from it. And you can see it. You can see it everywhere you go. Once you start in this, man, you'll be feeling. You won't even have to watch what's going on in this world. You'll feel the anxiety. You'll feel the worry. You'll feel everything. You just become instantly empathetic towards all people around you. Every living creature. You can just feel it. And then once it starts changing, you can feel that too. You can feel it within you, and you can just feel it resonating, and you can feel the light. You can feel the warmth, the light, the love, and it'll start going out. It is an ongoing thing. You may not get it right with everybody, but first you have to get it right with yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it before on this yet or not. I think I may have. If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. But if you can work this with your family and your neighbors, and get it right, or close to right, in that matter, stay in honor with your family, and like I say, your neighbors, when you go into that courtroom, it'd be a breeze, I'd say. Because I find it harder to stay in honor with my family than I do when I walk into that courtroom now.
Yeah.
It's the old nature, it keeps rearing its ugly head every now and then, but that's, part of the process. It's just if in a court matter, for instance, I just go in there. It's when they call out the name, I think what I would do now. I used to say I'm here for that matter, but I think what I would do now is just say open, and hopefully they'll bring you before the prosecutor. You go talk to him before you go before the judge. But if you're before the judge, I just point out there's a mistake. Where's the proper notice? And I'd like to deal with this honorably. In other words, you're not claiming the name. You're just there to point out, in the matter of the name, that there's a mistake. And
yeah. So, and so that takes the controversy. And what happens if the judge says, "Well, I know you're John Doe."
What evidence you have that I'm John Doe? And I say you can call me Batman.
Right.
But in the matter of the name, the reason I'm here, they might ask why you're here. The reason I'm here is there appears to be somebody must believe that I must be liable for this name here, so I came in there to help settle the matter. See?
Right.
And got into that.
Okay, and you're here to help settle the matter, and like...
No, I'm here to help settle the matter. I can't settle the matter. See, I'm incompetent. I'm not competent to handle the government's affairs. See, in the matter of the name is put there for us. We can use it for identification, or we can use it for indemnification. If we claim ownership of the name, well, aren't we creating a controversy when the state believes that they're in control of the name? But now we got this guy comes into the courtroom, says, yeah, that's my name. But didn't he just bring a case before the court to be heard? And now he becomes a surety for that name? You see? Is that helping?
Yes, and you want to settle the honorably.
Right.
Why
right. That? Well, generally, I don't want to see any harm come to anyone, and point out that there's no, by your questions, the judge will see that there's no evidence that you laid claim to the name. It's like from the scriptures when Pontius Pilate called Christ, and he asked him, "Are you King of the Jews?" The name. You claim ownership of the King of the Jews? The name there, and he says, "What evidence do you have of that? Did you come up with it on your own, or did somebody tell you that?" Basically, he asked the questions. Pontius Pilate turned around and said, "Hey, I find no fault with this man," and he settled the matter. It's his job to, make sure that account stays zero. But if somebody lays claim to it, now they got to listen to you. They're just giving you what you want.
Yes. And has there been much success in America or the United Kingdom with this method, do you think?
Well, my first-hand knowledge is it works for me. Boris, you might want to jump in there and tell them how it works for you.
Yeah, I had them revoke signed orders for mental health when I went and did it, and they were ready to put me away for 5 years.
The mental health exam.
Yeah, well, no, they were just gonna. I've been having an ongoing issue for like 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been. And I went the paperwork route, and basically it kept them at bay for the first few years. And finally, one day they had enough of it, and they went and did an order to revoke the bond. And to revoke the bond would have put me into mental health somewhere in North Florida, in the state-run facility. And I went in there, and this is way back when, man. We went in there. I went in there and did, for the record, I'm here for the matter, under threat and duress. I mean, the whole spiel. And since then, it's evolved. But basically, what happened was the last thing that prosecution has ever said in this whole matter is, I guess I should give these back. And they were signed orders. And the judge called an evidentiary hearing, and I went in there and I did exactly the same thing. And every time someone tried to attempt to call me by the name, I said, under what authority using that, or what authority you identify me by that name? And that's the only question I ask. Because until someone answers that question, until someone answers your question you ask, there is no other question. Once you give that testimony and you put it in there, and you go in there and I'm here for the matter, or however you're going to do it, and if you want to go open and talk to the attorney, but as soon as you put that evidence on the record and nobody rebuts it, is there anything left to decide? What is there left? They don't have they're not going to produce the proper notice. You've already told them that you're only there for the matter because there's a mistake, so they haven't rebutted that. And now they're going to come back and go, hey, Mr. So-and-so, what are you doing? Call me by that name, man. What makes you think I got a claim against that name? Or why are you using that name as personal or are you using that name as personal identification? We tell everybody that there's that 7-minute Bugs Bunny cartoon. It's called Hairbrush, H-A-R-E, brush. And I believe you can find it on VODPod, V-O-D-P-O-D. It's 7 minutes, man. It'll teach you all you need to know.
I've seen it.
It's Bugs Bunny. I mean, you can't get any better than that, man. So you get entertained while you learn what you're learning.
Yeah, I've seen the hairbrush with Bugs Bunny, and you can Google it or put it into. I got it on Google anyway.
Yeah, you can put it in Google.
Just put in hairbrush, folks, and it will.
H-A-R-E.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's 7 minutes, man. I mean, 7 minutes will change your life. And you didn't even know it, man. This is back in the 50s. Back in the 50s they were trying to tell you. And here we are, man. 50, 60 years later, we still have the same damn problems. People just didn't get it. Now it's time to wake up, guys. The consciousness, the shift is coming. The galactic New Year's upon, or whatever you want to call it, man. The universe is aligning, all that other good stuff, man. But it's happening, and it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets a lot better, because all those crazies out there and all the people who aren't going to make it are going to have to go by the wayside. All that stuff you held on to in your past has got to go by the wayside. All those traditions of man that everybody has held on to for 4,000 years or whatever, that's all got to go bye-bye. It's all got to go. I mean, I revel in the fact now that I can sit back and there's not one controversy in my head right now. It's completely empty. There's nothing keeping me from doing whatever it is I do. I got all the parts put in front of me, and now it's just time to assemble it and move on. Everything's come full circle for me. I mean, everything in the past has now become light, and I understand it all now. I understand everything that's happened in the last 20 years of my life. Last 30 years, the last 38 years, or whatever you want to put it. I understand it all. I know why it all happened. I see it. I see the plan that was unfolded for me, and I didn't see it then. I see it now. All the pieces are coming together. And you'll see it too. I mean, everybody's been on a path, whether you know it or not, and they have all led you to this point because you're here. You chose the path, and now you're fulfilling your own destiny. Because you're here. You're at this point in time where you should be. There's no accidents. There's nothing is by accident. Nothing is by chance. It's all designed for a purpose. And I now know what the purpose of the last 20 years of my life were. 38 or however long it's been. I don't even know, 38 years, whatever. However old this body is. And it's one of those things, man. Once your eyes open, man, holy cow, you see everything. You can look back on it all. You can look back on the past and see and see it. You can look at the future and know it's going to be okay. And I'm one of those people. I've lived my whole life on faith. I've had faith that whatever I'm doing is whatever I'm supposed to be doing at whatever time I'm supposed to be doing it. And I never really worried about, tomorrow or the next day or this and that. I've just lived my life through faith. And it causes a lot of rift because, people look at it like you don't have direction. And it's like, well, just because I'm not going the same direction you are doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just not your direction. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own little ways. Everybody has their own little quirks. All you got to do is get along. And you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it.
Yeah. You just have to get it. And do you think a lot more people are getting it now? Because since you started on this process with Batman, of course, it's on the talk show. A lot of people around the world are hearing about you, about the methods.
Well, see, I put my whole self is on these things, man. I put everything about myself out there because I need you all to see that sometimes you are gonna have to sacrifice a lot of what you thought you were holding on to. It's gonna have to go, and sometimes it's a painful process.
But the hardest part is getting over the illusions that you think you own anything.
That's right.
It's not so much your material world around you may not change in the least bit when you get this. Then again, you might need to give it all away. Who knows? Yeah. But the point of the matter is, you start seeing. It says, I once looked through a glass darkly colored, but now I can see through it clearly now. All these, like when Neo came out of the Matrix, all these hoses started popping off him. I don't know if you've seen it out there. But after that, they got him on the ship, and he says, why do my eyes hurt? And they told him, because you never used them before. You see? All the liability, he was no longer claiming the name. So his name changed. He went from Mr. Anderson to Neo. No longer claiming the name, no longer had all the burdens.
And if you notice, he could manipulate the system.
Well,
he could actually kind of control it a little bit.
He'd go in there and do why'd he do things? Because he chose to. Yep. And in the end, all he wanted was peace. That's all. That's all I want, peace.
Yeah, just.
Yes, to be peaceful inhabitants. That's all we want, isn't it?
Right, and the thing of it is, who has the choice?
Be able to live.
Yeah, who has the choice? Who's the problem? See, do you realize do you realize you're the only one that can deal with the problem at hand? That's what the end of the movie was about. Neo was the only one that could deal with it himself. You, Neo, the new mind. When you realize you're the only one that can deal with it, your choices and what you do, which makes a difference around you, forms your reality. Till you realize that, blaming others is not going to bring you happiness, not my opinion anyway.
Yes, you have to accept responsibility for the choices that you make.
Well, you do. You're going to get the burden whether you like it or not. It's just which ones you want, You have a choice on that.
The light,
yeah, I'm sorry.
You want the book to be light.
Yeah, how many times you've been mad at somebody and they never even know you were angry with them or had a grudge against them, but it was eating you up inside, and this guy never even had a clue. How many times have you run across that situation?
Yeah.
Now, if you forgave him and moved on, you wouldn't maybe got that ulcer. You wouldn't maybe have disease of the body. When you're at peace, I think you'll find your whole system is a lot healthier. But it's up to you to make your choice, me to make mine, Forgive myself or stay in turmoil.
Didn't Jesus say something about sin disease being a sin or of the body, or
Yeah.
that people have diseases because they have sinned, or would that be right?
Right. Dis-ease, unforgiving, laying claim to things that don't own you, being in the world, being of the world, claiming ownership instead of being in the world, Be in harmony, be part of it. We're divisions, countries, religions, traditions of men, Democrats, Republicans, Baptists, Buddhists. They're all divisions, but if you listen, they all have the same message, but they choose the division. They choose ownership over saying, hey, we're all on the same planet here. What's the need for these boundaries? See, what's the need? What's the need to have controversy when I can go and get anything I need anytime I want it? Why would I want to sue my brother or put a lien on anybody? When it's all paid for and I can use it if I behave myself. Stay in honor with one another.
Yes, stay in honor, even in the courtroom, because
Exactly.
you're in there to be a friend of the court in order to find out who's liable for the name.
Well, it's not so much that. I think everybody, well, not everybody knows it, but in general, the court knows who is. The point of it is you going in there creating a controversy by claiming ownership, and the majority of people can't get over ownership. I worked for it, I'm entitled, I'm this, I'm that, and they're laying claims on things, see? And they bring the controversy upon themselves. And in the court, the judges, I say, if they don't know it, believe me, they'll adjourn and they're going to get on the horn and they'll be asking somebody, what do I do with this guy? Believe me, and they're being watched, because I'll tell you, if they had all this power people think they have, tell me, why do they get scared when certain things I've done, and I've been in the courtroom quite a few times, and I've seen them get scared and run out of the courtroom a time or two, or get, something's there that they got to answer for. So, in my opinion, there's something to it. And I think it's basically just staying in honor. You don't own anything. Point it out to the court, show them your fruits, and help them to settle the matter, and you'll find your life's going to get a whole lot better down the road, I'd say. Like the straw man I use, for instance, it's, as far as I know, on the court record right now, it's put down as indigent. All costs went to the state. All taxes went to the state, the last document I got from them. Okay? Something to consider.
Yeah, indigent is I-N-T-I-G-E-N.
Yeah, you don't own anything. Something like that, I believe.
Is that the name on the birth certificate?
Yeah, same one. That's what they go by. They have control over it. You claim control over it, now there's the controversy. Yeah, that's my name. That's all you got to say. You give the judge, say, okay, now we got a ball game here, boys. That's how it goes.
You're the first witness against yourself.
It's that simple. Yeah, it's that simple. I mean, we've looked at people's court documents, and within the first 3 sentences, we know what they did wrong. I mean, it's that simple. Well, once you claim that name, or do anything on behalf of it, I mean, you come in there and try and enforce a secured party status, man. Holy cow! You may as well just drove a Sherman tank right onto a military base, because they're just gonna nuke it. They're gonna shoot you. And what they do is they go, okay, fine. You think you can handle the bitch? Here you go.
That was a great metaphor.
That's all they really do. That's all they really do.
They're giving you what you want. You want war? Oh,
yeah.
Paper is an act of war, paper terrorism. You want war?
Yep.
No problem. We're going to give you what you want. We're the left hand of God.
Yeah, I think it was Captain America in the 40s said paper is a weapon of war, and then he got Voltaire. I saw a quote. I know it's probably misquoted, but to put pen to paper is to be at war. So if you're using paper, you're at war. I mean, you're fighting. You're at war because what are you doing? You're launching false gods at each other.
Well, yeah, you're sending out a shipment. You're sending out a shipment with a claim on it to somebody else. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah.
Wow.
They'll deal with it accordingly.
It's okay to say in a courtroom that you're using the name, is it?
It should never go there, but you say anything you want. I mainly be asking questions after I got the statements down I wanted to. And if nobody rebuts them, which they won't, chances are, I don't see how they can. The prosecutor's just there on behalf of a fiction. Anything a prosecutor says is hearsay, and if they didn't rebut it, anything they come up with, I just ask questions and relevant to whatever they're asking, and stay on point.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story of one guy out here had a buddy who was arrested for cocaine in his trunk. But they put the cop on the stand and said, "Did you find it?" He goes like, "No, the dog told us it was there." They immediately turned around and said, "We'd like to put the dog on the stand." Judge said, "Case dismissed." Dog couldn't testify. Dog was the one who made the discovery. Dog can't testify. The cop had to interpret actions, and that's not a meeting of the mind. And as long as you don't, the meeting of the minds is where it's all at. If you come to a meeting of the minds, you're the name, great. They'll treat you accordingly. But if they can't answer the question of where's the controversy involving me, have they agreed there is no controversy involving you?
You can ask them, have you agreed there's no controversy involving me?
Yeah, if you ask a question and nobody answers, what's the answer to the question? Isn't the question the answer? So if you ask a question of hey, where's the controversy involving me, and everybody stands there with a blank look of duh, then the answer is obvious. There isn't one. And if there isn't a controversy involving you, then I trust they can settle this matter honorably and it has nothing to do with me.
Well, yeah.
And that's why stand on point.
Yeah, I more or less asked the next question. Well, seeing as there's no controversy here concerning me, I'm going to leave. Now, do you mind? No, by the way, thank you. I trust you'll settle the matter honorably. And if nobody says anything, I turn around and head for the door. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, all it does, it's people's fear of the fear that prevents them from doing anything. And like I said, fear is a sin. You shouldn't fear. Because, I walk through the valley of Sheth and I'll fear no evil. There's no fear in you. There should be no fear whatsoever because you are being taken care of. You're being, the Creator in the universe has protected you. All you have to do is accept it.
Right. And it sounds so easy, but they build everything on fear, don't they?
Well, they don't build everything on fear. They're trying to find out where your heart is. Is your heart full of love or is your heart full of fear? Because you can't have both. You can't love and fear at the same time.
You think about the fear, who's creating the fear. Just because somebody says something, are you assuming that it's true? That's why I've gotten to the point, what first-hand knowledge do you have of one thing or another? Oh, so-and-so says so-and-so says so. That's not what I asked. I asked, do you have first-hand knowledge that this is true? And usually you'll find, that's when they usually get angry with me, start calling names or something, because they can't back up what they're saying.
They
go on assumptions, and you know what happens when you assume, don't you?
Yeah, make an ass of you and me.
Yep. Yeah, but it's also funny. You know when you've gotten to someone when the names start calling, when they start calling the names. That's when you know you've gotten you've gotten to their conscience. Because that name calling is a defense mechanism. I don't care what name they pull out. They can pull out any name they want in the book. Once the name calling starts coming, you've gotten to their conscience. And that's what you do. You take them to the court of conscience. Because that's the highest court in the world, because that's the heart. The heart will never lie. You can't hide from it either. And that's why, if you sit there and watch a trial one day, the attorneys will ask questions. And what they're doing is they are actually examining the subconscious of the witness. That's what all attorneys, that's all their questions are examination of the subconscious, because they have to know where the heart, they're examining the heart. And that's what it all is about. If you can listen to that inner alien, you can't be beat. You can never fail. You can never fear. Because that inner alien, that's your heart, man. That's your innocence. That's where it all will come from. And once it starts coming from there, it can't be stopped. There's no force in the universe that can stop love. That unconditional love for everything and everybody within the body of creation. Not because they're your friend, not because of this, not because of that, because they are.
It's kind of like the band Uriah Heep. They had one verse in one of their songs. It was called "The Magician's Birthday," and he said it went something like this: "The one thing they can't see is the answer is simply an impenetrable fortress of love."
Yep. You know, and it's only the demons that it's like Melissa Etheridge also has that "I'm the Only One" song, man. It's only fear that keeps you running from the demons that you're hiding from. That's the only thing that keeps you from brewing it, man. You're hiding from your own demons. So embrace that pain. That's how you love. You embrace it. You have to be willing to embrace the pain. I mean, it's going to be hard for some people. It's going to be hard for most people. But you have to embrace that pain. I mean, all that stuff, you know, all those things, everything, man. You got to embrace it. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. There's no hiding from this. It's gonna. No matter where you go, you can't hide from it. You know, it's everywhere. It's gonna be, and it's gonna permeate everything, every living being on this planet. Even the animals are gonna get affected by it. But the people are gonna feel it harshly. It's that 4,000 years or 6,000, however long the civilization's been going. You know, it's probably been going on for thousands and thousands of years, if not millions. It's been the same way every time. I mean, it's not like this is all new. It's just every so often the people wake up from the slumber. You can't. It's unavoidable. The universe has a natural correction in it, and this is what it is. We're going to undergo a natural correction, an attitude check. Going, all right, we're going to smack everybody back in the line and see which ones listen, and the other ones that don't are going to get smacked away. They're just going to be brushed to the side. In
general, is people with all this anger and hate, they're the ones that signing up for the wars.
Yep.
And the ones that are in the streets, they got to go control, are the ones that, they're the ones that think, the money, no economy, no money, which is an illusion. Now we got to go out and fight and kill and stuff. And they're all going to do it to one another. All we can do is sit back and watch. I mean, stay out of the way of it.
Enjoy the show.
Embrace the pain.
Yeah, there's so much wars and violence. And the wars seem to be getting worse and worse, don't they? Is there any solution to all of this war?
Forgiveness.
Get your heart right. Start with yourself. Once you get your heart right, then you help the next guy, and the next guy will help the next guy.
It rubs off, man.
Yeah. Once the people's hearts are corrected, all that war, all that misery, all the strife, all the diseases, all the inequity, all that crap that y'all bitch about and y'all moan about and y'all claim you're fighting over will cease to exist. There's a reason they put reflection pools in all the government centers. It's because the government is always a reflection of the hearts of the people. Always. If you have a populace that's controlled by their ego and acting like little kids and want ownership of everything, what are you going to get from your government? You're going to get a government that's going to go out and claim ownership itself. It's going to war. It's going to fight. It's going to do all that stuff that the people do. And when it gets out of control, the people don't look at themselves because they're so busy looking outward, they don't look inward. And inward's where your solutions are. Outward, you can search for answers all you want without. You'll never find them. You may find little things here and there, but you'll never find the solution. The solution's always within you. Always has been. Always will be. And you just turn, and you're kept in a constant state of fear. The more you pay attention to that outside crap. All that stuff on the TV. It's just there to keep you in a state of anxiety and fear. And it's for all those people who want to live that way. And I can't do it personally. I cannot watch TV for more than a couple minutes at a time. Now I can watch South Park. South Park has some really good episodes on helping you out. The Imagination Land. They got the Pinewood Derby car one. That's a good one. They've got a couple other little episodes here. Margaritaville. That's a great one. But South Park is a good one. There's certain things you can watch that will teach you along the way. And believe it or not, a lot of them are cartoons.
Yeah. Oh, there's a good movie I might as well plug here is The Peaceful Warrior.
Yeah, that's a good one.
McNulty was in it. And Revolver, it's kind of a gangster movie, but if you pay attention to that one, it might help you see what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the ego.
Yeah.
You know, they put it out there for us.
You just have to kind of understand what it is you're seeing. You know, and
What
hell,
do you
you
think?
go back to other movies, man. I mean, what was that one, Hang 'em High?
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood first movie? The first one he made over here in the States or whatever?
The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that one's a good one. But I mean, you go back and watch the old movies, and you can see it. It's all there.
Yeah, what do you think
they've
of
been
the show, the Dr. Phil show? It seems to be very popular around the world.
Who's Dr. Phil?
You ever hear of him?
Oh, I don't know.
Who's that guy? Is that the
I
one
don't
on?
know either.
Is that the bald guy on Oprah?
Yeah.
That's the old guy from.
I don't watch Dr. Phil.
I can only handle him for so long.
Yeah.
With, whatever.
I know.
You
I know.
I
He
mean,
puts
it-
solutions.
yeah, he's. I don't know who. I really don't understand. Know what he's doing out there, but you know, whatever floats his boat. If people are listening to him, they'll listen to him. You know, it's just like listening to us. You know, I don't know. How do we know we're right?
Right, yeah. We could
You know,
be totally off point here.
Yeah, I mean, we could be totally full of shit, and we wouldn't know it. But you know, based on what I've experienced,
See, it's
and
all,
my firsthand knowledge, man, it's like, okay, well, this all makes sense to me.
it's all hearsay to everybody until they experience it. I mean,
You know, it's like
Yeah.
I equate it to reading a manual on engine repair. If you read a manual on engine repair, do you know how an engine works, or do you have an idea? And until you go out and do it, would you actually have any knowledge about it?
firsthand, that is.
Yeah, firsthand. Because right now you're relying on some engineer's diagrams and some other mechanic's interpretation of the events. Until you go out and work on it, you have no clue.
Yeah, it's like George Bush once said, which he got a lot of flack for, but he said the Constitution's nothing but a goddamn piece of paper. He told the people, in my opinion, the truth, and they called him names. So what do you want? But the thing of it is, that's all it is. Until you internalize it, and then you take it out and get first-hand knowledge if that's the way it is. I mean, what is it? Same way with the Bible. It's just ink on paper, man. Until you've actually did it and saw the results from your actions concerning what was on them pages, what good is it? It's nothing but hearsay to me. You see?
Yeah. And it is. It all boils down to they're administrating the usufruct according to international agreements. Yeah. And all you have to do is just stay the hell out of the way. They created the name, the Social Security number, or whatever they call it in England there, or Ireland, or whatever, and they call it Social Security here. They created that. That's all their creation to help them administrate those accounts. That's why all your courts are administrative. There's no, and if you follow the law, the written on your heart, there is no other law.
Yeah. The bankers, they're just bankers in a sense. Zeroing the account. If there's a claim, well, they got to deal with it. Who's bringing the claim? I must be the problem because I claimed the name. Something to think about.
You know, but you know, it comes down to if you don't know who the problem is, then how can anybody even think about the solution?
Right.
You know, that just amazes me that a lot of people go out there because, you know, Winston told you to do this, or what's his face, Tim Turner or Ted Turner, whatever the hell his name is, Turner there on rap, and all these people come out of the woodwork and claim, you know, hey, this is that. How do you know? How do they know? They're just telling you a bunch of shit. That's all, you know. We don't really, I mean, all I know is my first-hand experience. Batman knows his first-hand experience. And that's all we really do is we just teach you that first-hand experience that we have by doing what we've done. And then we sit back and, you know, and then everything just kind of fits together when we go back and look at it and go, oh, okay, this is happening this way because this. This is happening this way because that. But we both had to come to the realization that we were the problem And then once we came to that realization that we were the problem, we could step back and everything started to flow again. All that energy flowed back and forth. We were the dam. We were the impedance. And once you remove once the cause is removed, the impedance is removed. You remove the cause, you removed you. You had to give that thing a life without you.
Now the government can settle the matter.
Yeah.
Right. And can I ask you folks, Batman and Boris, we'll say Batman first, we say all these bills that people get in the mail, the electricity, the telephone, the gas bill, the credit card bills, for example, say what can they do with them to settle the account, or to what should they do if they haven't got the paper fiat money? What are they going to do?
It comes down to you understand that you're the problem. Now what I would do is go around, start knocking on doors and explaining the situation to people and seeing if you can find someone who understands it and set up the account so you can use it properly. That's all. It's just going to take a little homework for you, but until your head's right with your heart, I don't see you getting anywhere with it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you shouldn't. I mean, I was starting to think that way myself, but then you got to get the basics down. You got to get it down to where they have to know you're not claiming the name, and then all that other stuff should take care of itself.
So
that's,
you can
that's your
go
job.
to your
That's what you got to do.
Boris, you can go to your politician and say, I've got these pieces. Boris,
Okay.
I've got these pieces for.
Yeah, I have my politicians don't talk to me, or the politicians in this area don't talk to me anymore. I've come to the conclusion that they really are not the ones you need to talk to, because they're political, man. They're just there to give a circus show for something. They're not the administration. They're just elected figureheads to give to put in that place to keep in the public scrutiny, and they take a lot of brunt of a lot of action. But the people you want to talk to are the ones who are actually administrating the whole deal.
Yep.
And those are the attorneys, the state attorneys, the attorney generals, the barristers, all those people. Those are the ones who run the show.
Possibly the sheriffs, possibly risk management with the banks, or the go up the ladder in the corporations. But I feel if you can find just one proper agent and get it straight with him or her, I think they'll help you set it up.
Yeah.
I mean, but you got to have that love. You got to realize you're the problem, and you got to be able to forgive yourself.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, I mean, it's just.
That's the foundation for it. If you don't have that, you listen to episode 10.
Yeah.
You'll see where.
Right. Episode 10 of talkshow.com/is it Batman, and go to episode 10 because there's about 20 broadcasts there. Is there, Batman, of yours?
Something like that. The thing of it is, it's I as in idiot, M as in monkey, Batman 57. So, if that helps.
Okay.
I am BATMAN 57.
Yeah, and episode, like I said, episode 10 is our buddy up there in Minnesota. God help him, because he's still in that blame game. He's still he still doesn't see it. He knows what he needs to do. He's done it before. He's addressed the issue with the cops coming on the street and everything else, but for some reason he still lives in fear. He's still living in that sin, and he just can't get out of it. I don't know if he I don't know if he understands the situation. Knows that he's the problem.
Right, Boris. Who are you talking about there? Who is that chap you're talking about?
It's our buddy in Minnesota, Mark. On episode 10. Yeah, he goes in. He's called. I believe that one was done because he's in the mental health facility now, but he can call out. And he can get calls in, so we talk to him on kind of a regular basis, but he brought it all himself, man. He went and claimed the name. He went and
he
said
meddled.
he'd be back. He went and then he dropped a bombshell of a bill on him as he was walking out. And he went in there as a friend of the court and then kicked him in the dick on the way out.
He meddled. He went in there
Well,
and meddled.
he probably went in there and slept with his daughter. Got the daughter pregnant and slept with the wife. Man, kicked his dog too. I mean, that's basically what he did. He went into that house and just totally wrecked it.
Did he put a lien? Did he put a
Well,
lien on the judge?
He dropped a bill off to him.
A bill, and I guess he made it, and he told him to make it payable to the United States Treasury. I mean, where does he get off acting on behalf of the name in any manner? You just got to step away from it. And what caused him to do that? To this day, I can't figure out why he did it. But after that, it was all downhill.
Yeah.
The judge did something very simple. The judge
God,
came out there and just said, the order's done. And he
walked away.
Yeah, and he got a brain fart. He assumed the order had something to do with him. He was in dishonor, and he just couldn't function. That's why I say this isn't going to work if you're not right with your heart. And you know, he had all the knowledge, but when it came to the so-called heat of battle, for a lack of a better term, he got a brain fart. All he had to do was ask the judge, whoa, judge, order for what? Big
in other words,
prize? I mean, you know?
Yeah. In other words, he was looking into the abyss. The abyss looked back. He blinked.
That's why, you know, I try to emphasize on this point with people. Don't go out there jumping in the deep end of the pool till you got sure there's water in it. I mean,
you know, like in the hairbrush, man. The first time Elmer Bunny jumps into the river, man. What happened? Lands face first into a log. You know,
Elmer Bunny.
Yeah, well, if you gotta watch this, you gotta watch it. It's basically Elmer Fudd thinks he's Bugs Bunny. Bud thinks he's a rabbit. Yeah, Elmer Fudd thinks he's a rabbit. They put him in mental health. Bugs Bunny comes walking along. Elmer offers to switch places with him. Bugs Bunny agrees. The psychiatrist comes in, and he goes, "Oh, this is a bad case of rabbititis or whatever." And he introduces himself as he goes, "I'm Elmer." He goes, "Repeat after me. I'm Elmer J. Fudd, millionaire. I own a mansion and yacht." And Bugs Bunny goes, "Hey, nice to meet you, Elmer Fudd." That's what we say when they say, "Are you using that name as personal identification?" And they go, "Well, if they say yeah," you go, "Well, nice to meet you, so and so." And that's basically what that means. And then, you know, that's basically what he did. So they finally said, "Fine, here, take this pill," and he offered it to him. Bugs agreed to take the pill, and then they repeated it after him. He goes, "I'm Elmer J. Fudd, millionaire. I own a mansion and a yacht." And they did it again and again and again and again until Bugs Bunny believed it, until it was ingrained within him that he was Elmer J. Fudd. And then he went on his little thing to go rabbit hunting and everything else, and, you know, chasing the rabbit through the woods. And finally he goes, "You're not going to escape Elmer J. Fudd." And some agent comes up, grabs him on the shoulder, goes, "Did you say you're Elmer J. Fudd?" He goes, "I'm Elmer J. Fudd, millionaire. I own a mansion and a yacht." And he goes, "Mr. Fudd, come with me. You owe $400,000 in back taxes." All because he admitted he was the name. He admitted he was the name, and he owned $1 million, and he owned a mansion and owned a yacht. That was what they gave him to take the pill. That was the carrot they dangled in front of Bugs Bunny, and he took it. And that's the only episode where Bugs and Elmer are in the same episode, and Elmer wins. He walks away unscathed. And his last phrase is, "I may be a crazy rabbit, but I ain't going Alcatraz."
Ain't going Alcatraz. That was a very funny cartoon. That's Hairbrush, folks.
That's Hairbrush.
Look up
7 minutes, man, will teach you everything you need to know. It's awesome.
It's your 7 minutes Hairbrush on with Bugs Bunny back in 1955, I think. So look that up on.
I don't know. It's an old cartoon, but man, it's the one Bugs Bunny one that I remember. And I remembered it one day, and I just like, oh my God, there it is. 7 minutes. I don't know how to teach it to anybody quicker than that. 7 minutes. Just sit down and watch it. If you have to watch it over and over and over again, do it.
Yeah, just remember, hair is spelled H-A-R-E.
Right.
I just add that in again.
H-A-R-E.
Yep.
Yeah, it teaches you everything you need to know. All you need to know about what's going on. And it's amazing. I couldn't believe it when I remembered it, and I watched it, and I was like, oh my God, it's right here. And I don't know how I don't know how anybody can learn it in less than 7 minutes. It's done on such a easy scale education that anybody can pick it up. You know, I mean, you can have your kids watch it and they'll be able to understand it.
Yes. So so just limit yourselves, folks, to watching DVDs or maybe something on. Certainly look at hairbrush or hair what?
Hairbrush.
Hairbrush. Excuse me.
Yep. H-A-R-E and brush. 2 words.
Hairbrush. Google that and show it and watch it with your spread the word. Watch it with your children.
Yeah, because the only way the change is ever going to really take place is you got to start educating the kids. You have to learn it. You have to get it. You have to get it with your heart. Then you got to start educating the children, because if you don't educate the children, nothing will change. You can't bitch about the schools. If you're bitching about the schools, take your children out. I mean, the schools are just there to teach the kids to be good little slaves. That's all they're there for. You know, that's mass babysitting factories for the parents who don't want to take the responsibility for having kids. That's basically how I view the schools. All it is a babysitting facility, and they're going to teach them whatever they teach them, because you're giving them the most informative years of their life. You're giving up, and you're not taking the responsibility yourself. So you get what you put out, and if people are going to use it as babysitting, then that's what you'll get. You'll get a bunch of babies sitting around, and they'll never really truly grow. They'll be steered towards directions of this and that, but they'll never truly grow.
Right. Well, that's what's happening, isn't it? They're either letting the schools babysit them, or else the television babysit them when they get home.
Well, yeah, but whose fault is it, though? I mean, it's not the school's fault for doing it. It's not the television's fault for doing it. Whose fault is it? Again, who's the problem?
It's the parent, is it?
Yeah, it's whoever is in charge of that child. You know, it's not your child. You're here to help that child prepare itself for dealing with matters in the world without becoming of the world. It's your duty to educate that child based on the law of the heart. You know, that's why you have children, man. Why do you have children? Because it's a matter of the heart.
Yes. These are words of wisdom.
It's all a product of of the love of two people. I mean, that's what I was always told. A child is a product of love of two people. So if it's a product of love of two people, why in the hell aren't the people giving it love after it's born? After it's here? Why put it off on someone else's shoulders? Why are you burdening your brother with something else that you should be doing out of your own love? And that's always struck me as odd. You know, and I can't really, I don't have children, and I may never have them. I don't know where my path is going to be taking me after all this. You know, I have no clue. I don't know, but I do know that if the children themselves are not given with the same love which they were created, they're damaged. They won't grow.
You know, believe it or not, that's what got me started down this path. Was I chose to homeschool. And had social services come knocking on my door one day, and, well, the rest is history. I haven't filled out one government form concerning school as of yet, and it's been over 20 years now. And they didn't take the children either.
Right, so your children are long grown up then and left?
Well, they're getting there. I still got a little one hanging around with 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they got my attention one day. The public school wanted to teach the children sex education, and I went down there to check it out. And it's funny, they had these little squares cut out with paper clips over certain pages of the books, and they wouldn't show it all to me. And I says to myself, well, if they don't want to show me that, but they want to show the children that, maybe this is the wrong place for my children, or the children to be. I should say try to get out of that possessive thing. But You get my point anyway. And I pulled them out. And the next thing I know, I had social services. Make a long story short.
Yeah, right. Well, isn't it true that the social services feel they have a claim because of the birth certificate?
No. The point of the matter is, here's the way I look at it, and this just kind of come down to me today. This is first I really pondered on it. I think it was with Pete, or I forget now for sure. But anyway, here's what it comes down to. I go back to the Old Testament where the baby, there was a dispute who was the mother of the baby. And now all social services is doing is giving an opinion that the children could be harmed in that house. And the other and the other lady, she claimed ownership of the baby, and she thought it'd be best to split the baby in half. Whereas the one who says, I want what's best for the baby, let them have it, got the baby. So all social services is doing is giving an opinion. But you lay claim to that baby, now you're in dishonor. Instead of going in there like maybe, well, I want the best for the child too. Is it not my responsibility to educate this child? You know, going in a different perspective. Whereas if you're laying claim of ownership, hey, guess what? Old King Saul gave the child to the one that didn't claim ownership. And that's all that's happening, in my opinion. Something to consider.
Right. I've heard of that story in the Bible. There's so much, a lot to be said for reading the Bible, folks.
It's been on people's hearts since they took their first baby steps, man.
Yep.
I mean, even before that. The thing of it is, do we listen to the inner alien, like Boris likes to say? Or do we listen to that little voice, or do we let our ego and emotions and our intellect choose the path? See?
Yeah. Yes. Tel, can I ask you a question? Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you, mate.
Right, great. So now Tel, folks, is an ex-policeman. He is retired. Well, I don't know retired, but he left as far as I can recollect from what he said, the police. He was working in England, and now he's living overseas. Can you tell us, Tel, what was it like in the police force all those years ago, whenever it was? I mean, was it like trained to be or was it? What was it that stands out in your memories about why you left the force? Or why is it called a police force in the first place rather than a service?
Well, they like to call themselves a service these days, but when I joined back in the early 90s, it was certainly known as the police force. And I only left a couple of years ago, actually, as a police sergeant. The reason I left was because the time that I joined what I thought was a service to the community, and after 14 years realized that it wasn't what I thought it was. It was turning into something quite different. And it was manifesting we've all seen and we all know the old Bobby down the street he had a wooden truncheon in his pocket and some loose handcuffs in a pouch on his belt, and that's all he went onto the street with. And that's only going back, just over 20 years. And then, of course, over a period of time from the 90s up until about mid-2000s, you then started to see him wearing body armour, rigid handcuffs, pepper spray, tasers, guns, side-handled batons, asps, full body armour, black uniforms, and shields carried in the cars.
My God.
Now, that was a leap forward that I didn't like. It started to alienate when I was working as a police officer, it was alienating the people from the uniform.
Deliberately.
And over a period of probably the latter couple of years, I mean, I was working as a custody sergeant, so I was booking in I was on the charge desk. I was responsible for the prisoners coming in, responsible for detaining them, responsible for charging them. And of course, I saw the laws coming in, and the new laws coming in all the time. The way that the police was changing, just went against the way that I was starting to feel. So I had an opportunity to leave, and I did.
Right. And you've taken up your new life in Cyprus ever since?
Not ever since. No, I was in the UK for a few years. I've only been over here for a couple of years now.
Okay. Did you say you were doing...
I'm gonna ask you a question now that you come to a new understanding, can you see that the police were just merely mimicking the people?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what was happening. What manifested in the police was what was happening in society. Yes, that's right. So it wasn't just the police that on reflection, it was what's happening overall.
How was it that they were mimicking society? Because the people aren't going around with batons and with taser guns and all of this.
No, but you got those guys are the police and everybody and the lawyers and those various. They all have a duty to protect, and they're protecting the system. And the people are out there claiming ownership and thus creating risk within the system. I mean, if you can get to it, that it's draining the system of its resources, and they're going to war. A claim of ownership is a claim to be owned. So when you go in there and claiming ownership, you claim you're being owned, and then everybody's fighting against these people. Well, they gotta arm themselves against the, they gotta protect themselves while they're trying to protect you.
You find more and more people are talking back to the police.
Yeah.
And what are they going to do? They're here trying to keep each other from hurting one another. I mean, it's just, if you're paying attention, I don't know, I see it. I love these police officers. I thank God they're up there. That's all I can tell you.
I do too, man. I mean, how is you going to, I mean, as much as people don't like it, there's 6 billion raving lunatics on this planet. I mean, the only thing keeping them under control right now is the threat of something else, some incarceration or something. That's the only thing keeping them under control. And then that's why what we do is we try and help you, but you have to have your heart right. Because you can create hell and havoc in there. I mean, there's a lot of damage you can do without you even knowing it, if you don't have your heart right. And think about if all 6 billion people knew tomorrow that it was a mere piece of paper that was keeping them in line. What would happen? You think it's bad now? Wait till those guys start running amok. I mean, they're already doing so basically right now, but they still got something to keep them in line. They don't have most of the people on this planet don't have their heart straight. And they need that outside threat to keep them in line.
I say it's their head straight, but
yeah, their head straight with their heart.
There you go.
And they're all just it's just nuts, man. It's insanity. And then I look at it and I'm like, okay, well then we must be on a prison planet, because there's no way we're getting off here until we learn how to get along with each other. And I look at it as if some alien race did come by this planet, do you really think they'd want us out there?
Yeah, a good one to watch is that Pinewood Derby on South Park. Yeah. I think you'd all find that interesting.
That's a good one.
Let's look at that.
Yeah, it's South Park. SouthParkStudios.com/episodes, and it's season. What is it? Season 11 or 10?
Season 11.
Is it season 11?
Okay, so that's
12.
That's SouthParkStudios.com/episodes, season 11, as well as the hairbrush. That's your hairbrush with the Bugs Bunny, 1955. That's some of your homework.
It's actually season 13. It's called Pinewood Derby. And then there's also the Margaritaville one. It's also season 13. And that's a good one. And then there's a little mini movie called Imagination Land. And I like that one. I think the Imagination Land's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, those are some good ones. And you find these little things here and there. I mean, they're all over the place. But I find out that most of your a lot of your informational ones are going to be cartoons.
Just think of imagination, all these nations all around the world. Where are they at in people's imaginations?
Yeah.
That's why I imagine like John Lennon. I like that song by John Lennon, Imagine There's No Country. Imagine.
Yeah. Because when you look at the planet from space, from all those pictures, where are the lines? There's no lines. There's no divisions. It's just one giant ball in space. We're all in this rock together, guys. You know, we either learn to live together, or they'll just raise it and build a new Earth here. Start all over again.
Yeah. So, do you think 2012 is just
It's just a date.
It's just a date?
Some in the future, man. I don't. Why worry about it? Hasn't happened yet. You know, it's like I don't know if y'all seen that movie, Kung Fu Panda. He goes, what was it? The past is history. The future is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. So you don't worry about the history. You don't worry about the mystery. You just live in the present.
All you can do is live the moment, boys and girls.
Yep. Be the moment. You are the moment.
Where do you see, because this information is important to people, and you do a lot of talks. I've noticed that you're on Skype and have meetings quite a lot, so you're getting the word out there, and people are hearing about it, and that's a good thing, isn't it?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I guess time will tell now, won't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like we said, man, we may just be full of shit, but you know, so far, my first-hand experience says otherwise.
I should have say, or will it? I got to stop using those negatives.
Yeah.
Got to bring balance to the force.
Yeah.
We're out of balance. Is that it?
Well,
some
everything. Yeah, some are.
Right.
But once the right amount of people get their hearts straight, it'll all start working back. You know, we didn't start the fire. We just fan the coals, and that's all we've done.
We're just the messengers.
Yeah.
Take it for what it's worth. You know, do with it what you will. My hands are clean now. You guys got to hear it.
Yeah.
Right. This is your vocation, isn't it, Batman?
I'm not sure of that term. You mean it's mainly what I do with my time at the moment? Yes.
Right. Which is a very fruitful way to spend your time enlightening people and bringing them to the truth of what is there, get their heart right and refocus their mind on their heart and seeing that there is a peaceful way out of these matters, and really to that name isn't you, but you're there as a friend to help clarify the matter.
Well, help my brothers and sisters do their job.
Yeah.
That's all. They took the oaths and stuff to do this job and settle the accounts.
Yeah.
And heck, if there's an impedance there and somebody assumes it has something to do with me, well, isn't it my duty as a loving brother to the others to point it out best that I can so they can keep the books straight, is to say?
To keep the books straight, and that would mean to reduce the debt and all of that.
Yeah, that's what I see happening out of all of this. People quit laying claim, claiming ownership. Where's the debt? The only reason for money is, in my opinion, is because people want to be better than the Joneses, think they got more power through it and whatnot. It's more the ego than anything. Why can't you be satisfied with getting what you need? I mean, it's all there for us to use. That's the way I see it anyway.
Yes, and there's no need for starvation in the world. And what do you make of all these famines and in Africa? Is that like a laboratory of the world?
All these
world? What?
Well,
all these what in Africa?
Famines.
Famines. Yeah. It's coming from the heart of the people.
Yeah. You gotta remember,
I
Africa,
shouldn't say the heart. Excuse me. The head of the people. Their egos.
Yeah.
You know, they're not listening to their hearts, because I believe the more people start listening to their hearts, you're going to see these things disappear. The earth is going to be more at peace. There's going to be less storms and floods. I believe it's the whole consciousness of the planet that causes these things to happen. Like one of the stories in the Old Testament, it goes on to say about Sodom and Gomorrah. The city wouldn't have been destroyed if there was one righteous man there. You see? I feel at peace. I hardly, I just feel protected, and it just goes out.
Yeah.
And if more and more people on an individual basis realize they're a problem and start dealing in peace and honor, I believe things will start healing, and it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
Don't make claims on your brothers and sisters.
Why? Do you like it when people make claims on you?
No. Well, it's do unto others. We're to love our neighbour and love God. The first commandment is love God above all, and the second is to love your neighbour as yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. The unpardonable sin, I feel, is not forgiving yourself. Something to consider.
Something to consider, yeah. Not forgiving yourself. Like, can you tell me where is heaven, hell, and
Well,
purgatory?
could it be in your own head, in your own heart?
In your imagination, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay,
Isn't it a creation of yourself?
yeah, perhaps.
I mean,
Oh,
think
right.
about it. If you're bearing all these burdens that you want, you think you have a duty to settle, aren't you creating your own hell?
You are.
So then isn't hell just within you? Isn't heaven just within you? It's both within you.
It's your choice.
Yeah. Which one do you want to live? You want to live in heaven or you want to live in hell?
And what happens after 70? That's the average lifespan, it says in the Bible.
I don't. If I do have any first-hand knowledge of that, I don't recall. So.
Yeah.
That's it. I have no first-hand knowledge. I'll let you know when I have.
Yeah, when it happens, I'll know.
Right.
And when this body dies, I'll have first-hand experience what happens next. Until then, it's all speculation. But then why worry about it? You don't even know. Just something else to burden yourself with.
That's true, yeah.
And else, some other voice inside your head preventing, to stop you from doing whatever it is to prevent you from listening to your heart. Because now you're worried about it. And once you become worried about something, you can't think about it clearly. You cannot think about anything clearly if you're concentrating on its outcome, on you're worried about what the result of it's going to be. You just have to kind of throw yourself to it and go, all right, man, whatever will be, c'est la vie. Isn't that what the French do, c'est la vie? Whatever will be, is life.
Yes.
Yeah, if you notice when you get mad or fearful or angry, I should say, maybe a better term, you don't think as clearly as if when you're at peace. Take time, slow down. Well, wait a minute. Now let's think about this. Let your heart listen to that little voice in your heart, and all of a sudden you realize you'll have the proper question or the proper answer for the question, or both. Usually the answers are in the questions. That's what I find anyway, if you're listening.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, nobody answers the question, man. Where's the answer?
Right. That's true. Well, I mean, I hope you're listening up, folks. Even, I don't know if you had a recorder on, but this is not information you get on the mainstream media, which is just out to captivate your attention and take you away from what your heart might be telling you and what you were essentially created on this world or this earth to be, which is you're here to be a sovereign man or woman of the land, free of these burdens of worry and of...
in the land, not of, in the world, not of it. Remember, key
Yeah,
words. Renewing of the mind, it takes some time.
Yeah. And also, it's kind of hard to be a sovereign when you have to be a servant to someone.
We all serve somebody.
Yeah.
So, to sum up, people facing with crisis, these debt collectors, sheriffs, bailiffs, because there's thousands of people that haven't paid a mortgage payment in over a year, and these people would now be worried about sheriffs coming out to make repossessions with repossession orders. Should they go down to the mortgage company or the bank and try to resolve the matter by saying it's a mistake and I'm here to be a friend and to see who's responsible for the name?
Well, I think I would believe that would be a personal decision.
Exactly. We're not here to tell people what to do. We're just telling them of our first-hand knowledge and experiences, and where the answers we get, the things we talk about come from.
We can give you advice, but basically, it's still your call. It's your decision. It's your choice. How you want to handle all this that we put out there, man. That's all up to you. I'm not gonna sit there and I'm not gonna write any papers. I'm gonna ask you questions whenever if you want, but I'm not gonna sit there and tell you what to do. I can't. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. Why the hell should I tell you what to do?
Right, and it's your choices. That's what it all comes down to. Are you listening to your heart?
Yeah, you have to have faith. You have to put the faith out there. You have to go through it. If you really want to know, then you got to go. You got to put one step. You got to put one foot in front of the first one and start walking that path. And that path you'll walk will be full of quicksand, full of it. But since it's a path that's less traveled, there'll be lots of branches and vines for you to pull yourself out. You just have to reach for them.
I say you do it properly, you'll be walking on water.
Yep.
So quicksand would probably be a little easier.
That's right. But in the beginning, you will find the quicksand. Everybody does. Nobody makes a jump the first time.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Right. Well, I guess I can tell people what I might do in the circumstances that would happen to me, and from my experience and from my first-hand knowledge, given the years I've lived on this planet, I might be able to share from my internalized experiences and what I've learned to inform people that there is hope out there, and it is basically just to get yourself informed of who you are and who you are not. With that, I want to thank my three guests that came on today, Batman, and who wishes to be called Batman, and Boris, and Tel. So thanks very much, gentlemen, and who knows, we might do this again sometime if you would like.
All right.
But I appreciate you coming.
It's been a pleasure, guys, and I'm going to do it. Good night, Radio Ireland.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me on.